The man recognized her and ran away. Fortunately, Miriam came prepared. She ran after him, tackled him to the ground, and pointed a gun at him.
Oh!
Miriam detained the man for approximately.
And today we're reacting to the mom who hunted down 10 cartel members for offing her daughter. I've been rocking with the true crime stuff. I have been too. I'm excited to get into them. This one looks like a fun time, so let's go ahead and get straight into it, man. ADD, let do it, man. You know what I'm saying, man. Y'all know what I'm saying? Love y'all, man.
Hubo una fuga masiva de reos, todos sabemos. Debido a en esa fuga masiva se fugan dos reos. Uno fue recapturado, pero uno aún sigue allí. A raíz de eso, yo también pedí seguridad en lo que este reo fuera recapturado, que hasta fecha no ha sucedido.
Miriam Rodriguez is a mother who tragically lost her daughter to the brutality of Mexican cartels. Overwhelmed by pain and a thirst for justice, Miriam transformed from a grief-stricken mother into a vigilante activist. This is the powerful story of a mother who relentlessly pursued
mother's love.
cartel members responsible for the death of her beloved daughter. Let's dive
mother's
into the life
love
of the main character of this tragic tale. Miriam Elizabeth Rodriguez Martinez was born in 1960 in San Fernando, Tamaulipas, where she lived a seemingly ordinary life. However, due to the ongoing cartel turf wars and violent murders, most of Miriam's family, including her son, had already relocated away from San Fernando.
I know it's
the city
crazy,
was
bro.
Undoubtedly a ticking time bomb.
Right.
According to the New York Times, San Fernando lies alongside the Principal northbound route within the state of Tamaulipas, which leads to the United States. The area's vast network of dirt roads and scrubland provides an ideal pathway for drug smuggling activities. Between 2007 and 2012, Mexico experienced an inclining surge of violent occurrences that led to a 3 times increase in the number of murders. During this time, more than 60,000 lives were lost to violence.
Sheesh.
Countless civilians were either reported missing or forced to abandon their homes in fear of danger. The surge was encouraged by a significant increase in drug trafficking and the changes in government propositions to combat drug trafficking organizations. This situation highlights the difficulty that Mexico confronts in its battle with growing crime rates. Despite the anger, Miriam's 20-year-old daughter, Karen Alejandra Salinas Rodriguez, decided to stay in the city to finish her education and assist her mom with her business. Everything was as great as it could be. Unfortunately, tragedy hit the Rodriguez family. In 2012, Miriam's daughter Karen was abducted by the infamous Los Zetas cartel. Miriam and her family searched tirelessly for her daughter. The Zetas demanded the family pay a heavy ransom in exchange for their daughter's life.
Why?
The term Los Zetas
Why?
might sound familiar to you. You see,
Why? What? They had money because of the restaurant?
Los Zetas is a Mexican criminal organization based in Nuevo Laredo. The gang originated in the late 1990s when commandos of the Mexican army abandoned their ranks and started working as the enforcement arm of the Gulf Cartel. Los Zetas was one of the most dangerous drug cartels and was known to utilize shock and awe tactics,
Wow.
which means they don't hesitate to or kill or hit other people. The
Wow.
gang is mostly involved in drug trafficking, but they also operate through protection rackets, assassinations, extortion, kidnappings, and other illegal activities.
Last week, you had the worst massacre in this entire drug war, with 72 migrants killed by the Zetas, one of the drug cartels that operates primarily just below Laredo and Brownsville, Texas. They actually operate all over Mexico, but that's sort of their home base. They're accused of gunning down 72 migrants. That's obviously the worst that's occurred in what's a
72
drug war here.
Two cartels that are in what amount to a cartel war now, and they are apparently 2 of the most vicious cartels in Mexico. So their first instinct is to kill you rather than deal with you.
Yeah.
Than kidnap
We're not
you.
even gonna worry about it. We just gonna let it
Most
go.
importantly, the Zetas are one of the main instigators behind the violent turf wars of Mexico.
Now, the Tijuana cartel traditionally ran the drugs business in the city, but the Sinaloa cartel has moved into their turf and taken away some of the business. It means now that the city is at the center of a major and bloody turf war, making it one of the most dangerous cities in the country.
Turf wars are conflicts or battles that occur between rival groups or organizations over control of a territory. Crime organizations, street gangs, and cartels fight for dominance over specific areas to exert influence, power, and control. These turf wars can lead to violent outcomes, mass
Look at this. Just down your street where you living, bro.
casualties, and an increase in crime rates. There are many reasons why turf wars happen, but they usually center around conflicts over drug distribution, human trafficking, or gang rivalries. The former notorious Mexican drug lord and leader of the Beltran Leyva cartel, Edgar Valdez Villarreal, was also known to engage in rivalry wars with the Los Zetas. It was reported that the Zetas kidnapped and killed Valdez's brother as an act of revenge. As a result, Edgar Valdez Villarreal captured 4 members of the Zetas, whom he and shot on camera. The video was later acquired by Dallas Morning News.
And against rival gang members, murder. Police say you can...
Doing them on video. This is where they be fucking niggas' heads up. They do you on video. Torturing. Harming. And then just to go ahead and end you off anyway. We was going to do that anyway. We just getting our point across. But we also going to put this on video for your fam, your community, to fuck everybody heads up.
hear LaBarbie's voice interrogating these men just before they're arrested.
So, as you can see, these cartels and gang members aren't hesitant to abduct or even kill someone to get what they want. The issue of turf wars and gang violence has prevailed over the country of Mexico for years, and communities have been affected by the ongoing brutality. They pose significant threats to people's safety and security, and they also disrupt the efforts of law enforcement agencies tasked with countering organized crime and gang-related violence. Karen Rodriguez is one of many victims of this savagery. Through the cloud of tragedy loomed over the Rodriguez family, Miriam was determined to get her back. On a fateful day in 2012, 20-year-old Karen Rodriguez was driving her truck through a rural area when 2 trucks encircled her. 2 men came at her with guns, dragging her from the car and into theirs. Later, the 2 men took her to the Rodriguez family home and tied her up. They were about to proceed with their ransom plan when a family friend dropped by and witnessed the scene, ruining the kidnapping.
Is it better in a situation like this? Is it better just to fight right then to the death? Or go and follow instructions? Because I'm not going to lie. I know it's going to be bad for me anyway. I might as well try my best to just take me now.
Plans. At this point, the kidnappers decided to abduct both Karen and the family friend. After the kidnapping took place, Karen's family started receiving threats and ransom demands. Miriam and her family had no choice but to take out a loan from the bank to pay their daughter's ransom. Yes, a loan. Apparently, there have been so many kidnapping for ransom incidents in the city of San Fernando that the bank started issuing ransom loans. Miriam and her husband almost had no trouble receiving one. They were willing to pay as long as their daughter was safe. Miriam and her husband were told to drop the ransom money off at a local medical facility. They were directed to wait at a nearby cemetery for further instructions, but the couple was not contacted. Miriam refused to give up. She asked to meet with the gang members, and they agreed. The meeting took place at a local restaurant called El Junior. Miriam met with a man who tried to demand more money from her without telling her the whereabouts of her daughter. Miriam couldn't get any information from this person. However, he was said to be wearing a cheap plastic radio on his belt. Miriam reported hearing a constant voice come from the radio and believed his name to be Sama. Man, Sama stated that he didn't have Karen, but they could help Miriam locate her daughter for a fee. The challenges Miriam faced to locate her daughter's whereabouts became even more daunting. Desperately, Miriam agreed to pay the gang $2,000, but they still wouldn't answer her calls. Finally, when they did return the calls, the kidnappers asked for an extra $500. The family continued to wait, but Karen never returned. Miriam is now separated from her husband and living with her eldest daughter, Azalea. She knew at this point that Karen would not be returning. The heartbroken mother swore to keep searching until she tracked down every one of her daughter's kidnappers.
Not playing on that.
This is where Miriam's vigilante detective work begins. An important note to remember is that the reason Miriam had to go to such lengths to investigate her daughter's disappearance is because the police refused to do any work to help the Rodriguez's family. Miriam is more determined.
Because some of them tied in and they don't want to put their life and their family at risk. Because that's how deep it is. She probably talking to somebody who is tied in with that exact group of the cartel.
Determined than ever to find these people who took her daughter away from her. And where better to begin than with Sama, the only member of the gang she met with. Remember that family friend who was abducted along with Karen? He was actually released shortly after his abduction because he wasn't worth anything to the kidnappers. Miriam managed to press him for the physical description of his captors, which was enough for Miriam to confirm that Sama was involved in her daughter's disappearance. In this day and age, almost everyone has a social media account. It's not hard to locate someone, even a notorious gangster. Miriam begins scouring the internet to try to locate the face of the man she met at the restaurant. Miriam spent hours and hours searching Karen's profile.
I feel so bad.
Anything related to her kidnapping. While browsing on Facebook, she eventually stumbled upon a picture of a man who bore the resemblance to Sama. He was standing next to a woman dressed in an ice cream store uniform. After conducting a more thorough investigation, it was revealed that the uniform belonged to a store in Ciudad Victoria.
Bro, it's crazy. Like, it's so sad because I understand you don't understand how far you willing to go for somebody until you have a kid, right? And for some people, for me, for instance, it goes the same for the person who had the kid. My girl and my son, like the lengths that I would go, you know what I'm saying? So I understand, like I feel this feeling of like, nah, what the nah, where the fuck is niggas? And you searching,
which was nearly 2 hours away.
This
from her
become your
location.
only
She
job.
recognized him from their meeting at the El Junior restaurant. Miriam located the ice cream shop and began stalking the store on a regular basis. She found the woman employee from the picture and memorized her working hours. Miriam watched the woman employee during her shift and waited patiently for Sama to show up. Finally, when she spotted Sama coming into the store, Miriam waited to follow the couple home and recorded their address. This sounds really creepy and all, but I guess it's not that bad when the person you're stalking is the kidnapper and potential killer. Still,
Yeah.
This information is good, but it's not enough to get the police involved. Miriam needs more information. She needs to get closer to these people. And in order to do that, she needs to go undercover.
Oh shit.
Miriam cut her hair and dyed it bright red so no one would recognize her. She put on an
Oh
old
my
government uniform
gosh.
she kept from an old job at the health ministry and went from door to door in Sama's neighborhood conducting fake surveys. The
Wow.
goal is to collect as much information about Sama as possible. After she's done all the hard work, Miriam took her findings to the local authorities, hoping they would lend her a hand. Unfortunately, she ran into a bump in the road. It turns out the kidnapping and crime rates in the city had inclined tremendously.
In those areas, there were
Wow.
shootings and kidnappings. 11 people reported killed.
There were over 70,000 missing person cases due to the cartel activity. Additionally, the number of homicides in Mexico had doubled, and no significant measures were being taken to address the situation. Therefore, no law enforcement officers cared enough about Miriam or her daughter to do anything about it. It took
Wow.
Miriam a lot more time to find someone who was willing to help her. By the time an arrest warrant was issued, Sama had already taken off. Miriam was frustrated, but she refused to give up.
I ain't
She spent
gone.
more time identifying and locating more gang members from Sama's crew. Before you know it, Miriam located a large number of photographs of Sama and his gang crew. That just goes to show how amazing Miriam was
Yeah.
at her detective work. Maybe it was an act
With
of
no
karma.
schooling, no nothing, she became a detective. No nothing, she don't know nothing about nothing. She became a detective then, right then.
Sama eventually researched.
Well, I ain't gonna lie, women are the greatest detectives.
On September 15th,
They gon'
2014,
find that shit
Mexican
out.
Independence Day, Miriam's
Talking
son
to you.
Louis was closing his shop in Ciudad Victoria when he spotted a familiar slender man in his shop. Louis recognized that the man was Sama. He dropped everything and called his mother while trying his best to keep an eye on Sama. And of course, Sama was arrested. And he quickly gave the police the names of his accomplices who were involved
Wow.
in Karen's abduction. One of the names was
Quickly.
Christian Jose Zapata Gonzalez, an 18-year-old. He was brought in for questioning. Miriam witnessed the questioning, and from her perspective, Christian looked like a scared child.
Don't
Miriam
care.
sympathized with the young man. At one point during the interrogation, Miriam came in to offer Christian her lunch and went to buy him a drink. Later, the officers questioned her kindness towards the boy. According to Miriam's friend, Idalia Saldidar Villavicencio, who was present during the questioning, Miriam said, "He's still a child no matter what he did, and I'm still a mother. When I heard him just now, it was like my own child."
Wow.
Touched by Miriam's compassion,
Wow.
Christian told the investigator everything they needed to know, which includes
Wow.
Karen's
Wow.
location. "I'm willing to take you to the ranch where they killed them, and
Wow.
their bodies should still be buried," Christian said in a statement to the police.
That's pain. Damn, that's
Christian
real
led them
pain.
to an abandoned ranch house near San Fernando, Tamaulipas, Mexico, that was littered with bullet holes, a remnant of a gunfight months earlier. The place was left in a horrifying condition. While scouring through the debris of the ranch house, Miriam Rodriguez stumbled upon a scarf. Miriam
No.
recognized the scarf belonging to her daughter, and she also found a seat cushion from Karen's truck on the top of the pile. This discovery confirms Miriam's suspicion that her daughter had been killed, except forensic claims that Karen's body wasn't recovered at the ranch, which Miriam refused to believe. In 2015, a group of scientists confirmed that Karen's remains were found at the ranch. Following the revelation of an abundant discovery of dead bodies,
Wow.
the region underwent extensive excavation. However, it was only after Miriam insisted on a second check that Karen's femur was finally found. Miriam was driving home from the ranch when she passed by a barbecue restaurant where she had eaten with Azalia 2 days after Karen was abducted. She remembers meeting Elvia Yulisa Betancourt, an old neighbor at the restaurant as well. Miriam recalls asking Elvia if she had seen Karen, which she denied. It could be a sixth sense or a gut feeling, but Miriam thought the interaction was strange. Strange enough to have her start looking into Elvia Yulisa Betancourt. She thinks her neighbor could be an accomplice to Karen's kidnapping. Miriam started researching Elvia.
Years
and
later,
found out
I'm
that she
still
was
on
involved
ass.
romantically with one of Karen's abductors, who was imprisoned at the time. Like what she did with Sama, Miriam started stalking the prison during visiting hours. She waited until Elvia showed up and had her arrested. It was later discovered that some of the ransom calls received by the Rodriguez family came from her home. Another point to Miriam for having a great sense of observation. Months passed and Miriam continued her research and evidence discovery work. Soon, Miriam ran across a man named Enrique Yoel Rubio Flores, who she recognized as one of the culprits behind her daughter's disappearance. The media called him a born-again Christian. Miriam traced Flores back to his hometown in Aldama and paid a visit to his grandmother. Miriam learned from Flores' grandmother that he attended church regularly. So she started attending mass at his church to observe him. Eventually, Miriam contacted the authorities about her findings, and they arrested Enrique Yoel Rubio Flores at the chapel. At the scene of the arrest, Flores' family begged Miriam for mercy, but she scoffed and stated, "Where was his compassion when they killed my
What?
daughter?"
What? Like, what? You want compassion? Please don't do this. What? I've been on this work since 2012. I've been grinding.
Miriam's wildest investigations. At this point, Miriam Rodriguez is 56 years old and has been chasing down her daughter's killers for a few years, but she couldn't care less about herself. Miriam remains persistent. She refuses to back down until she brings all of her daughter's killers to justice. This time she had her eyes on a young florist. Miriam learned that this man used to be a florist before joining the cartel, and he's most likely returned to his old past to stay out of the law enforcement's way. After receiving an anonymous tip, Miriam located the man selling sunglasses near the United States and Mexico border. The man recognized her and ran away. Fortunately, Miriam came prepared. She ran after him, tackled him to the ground, and pointed a gun at him. Miriam detained the man for approximately an hour until the authorities arrived. Okay, so Miriam Rodriguez is not only doing police work at this point, she's doing James Bond work.
She need to get hired.
She literally caught a criminal all on her own. Miriam should have been made an honorary detective at this point.
On facts. Tackled, get on the ground.
Miriam Rodriguez dedicated 3 years of her life to tracking down almost all of the living gang members responsible for kidnapping and killing her daughter. She managed to hunt down 10 of them. In her nonstop pursuit of justice, she adopted various cunning tactics, including dyeing and cutting her hair, obtaining fake IDs, and disguising as health workers and election officials.
Whatever I
These
gotta
methods
do.
allowed her to gain proximity to the gang's family members and associates. Though most of the time people would slam the door in her face, Miriam remains persistent.
Didn't matter.
Miriam pieces together fragments of information, slowly investigating the men she sought. Her determination and investigation skills brought her widespread recognition in Mexico, but this newfound fame also exposed her to
I was about
danger.
to say, because she putting in real work. Is this not, potentially dangerous to her and her rest of her
This
family?
woman in her 50s challenging.
But I
and
guess she didn't
dominating
give a
the
fuck.
Country. Miriam's openness about their crimes served as an inspiration to other families with missing children, encouraging them to stand up and fight rather than to hide in fear. However, this exposure made her vulnerable, attracting threats from those associated with the cartel. Recognizing the danger she faced, Miriam sought help from the Mexican government and requested protection. During an incident, some prisoners managed to escape from the same jail where her daughter's kidnappers were being held.
La fuga de los reos secuestradores, hubo una fuga masiva de reos, todos sabemos. Debido a esa
Look at that massive escape. Two of those who escaped are my daughter's kidnappers. One was recaptured, but one is still at large. As a result of that, I also asked for security until the prisoner was recaptured. But that has not happened.
On April 17th, Miriam pursued a woman who worked as a nanny for a family in Ciudad Victoria. Once again, Miriam spent days stalking the family home until she saw the young woman. When the nanny was arrested, Miriam was reported chasing her on foot, resulting in an injury. Miriam managed to place another one of her daughter's killers behind bars.
Oh my
She's one
gosh.
step closer to achieving her mission. Unfortunately, in May 2017, Miriam Rodriguez was found dead outside her home. On
God rest your soul, Miriam.
May 10th, 2017, Mother's Day in Mexico, Miriam was shot with 13 bullets by the same prisoners who had earlier escaped.
Miriam.
Away for abducting and killing her daughter. In her her quest to seek justice, Miriam Rodriguez became a symbol of courage and resistance against the criminal underworld, demonstrating the lengths a mother would go for her child and inspiring others to do the same. It was reported by the police that the day Miriam was killed, she was driving home to a small house where Karen once lived. She parked and exited her car. Then, a white Nissan truck pulled up beside her and shot Miriam 13 times. Her husband found her lying on the street with one arm in her purse, reaching for her pistol. Miriam died.
Miriam, a gangster. God rest Miriam. So she was gonna bust back
on her way to the hospital. Miriam's death created turbulence across Mexico.
I'd imagine.
Authorities scrambled to search for her killers. Shortly after her death, State's Governor Francisco Javier Garcia Cabeza de Vaca tweeted, "The government of Tamaulipas will not allow the death of Miriam Rodriguez to turn into yet another statistic. Hashtag no impunity." Clearly, those who put a hit out on Miriam were afraid of her vigilante activism.
Because she getting
Miriam
active.
passed away, but her message remains untouched. Her son, Louis, desperately wants to find her mother's killers, but
Get
he's
right,
afraid of
Louis.
following in his mother's footsteps.
My niggas, hey. I hear you, bro, but hey.
Louis stated, "I won't make the same mistakes as my mom." Seeing the result of Miriam's pursuit, many people worry they will suffer the consequences of the cartel's vengeance. Though, without a doubt, there are people who are actively pursuing justice in honor of Miriam. Miriam Rodriguez's story is a reminder of the risks and challenges faced by those who dare to confront powerful criminal organizations. Miriam is viewed as a hero in her hometown. She has a bronze plaque dedicated to her at the center square. Miriam's commitment to seeking justice for Karen did not end with her death. A month after her passing, authorities received a crucial tip from Miriam, leading to the arrest of an anonymous woman in Veracruz. The police pursued the mother as she attempted to escape San Fernando and attack over their son. Shockingly, it was revealed that Karen's captor had subjected her to severe beatings while suspending her from her wrists. Before her death, Miriam Rodriguez had established a group called Colectivo de Desaparecidos de San Fernando, the Vanished Collective, and their purpose was to help others find their missing relatives. Over 600 people had joined the group, but after Miriam's murder, membership in the group started to decline out of concern that they would be the cartel's next victim. Currently, the group is being led by Miriam's son, Louis. Since 2017, crime rates have accelerated in Mexico, and cartel violence has expanded rapidly. In 2020, the police chief, Omar Garcia, suffered 3 gunshot wounds by the Jalisco New Generation cartel. Additionally, the same group was responsible for committing a brutal massacre at the drug rehabilitation center in Guanajuato, resulting in 26 deaths. It goes without saying that Miriam Rodriguez is not a woman of violence and vengeance. Although she sought justice for her daughter's death through excessive means, her actions stem from love, grief, and uprightness. Miriam fought for her daughter, Karen, until her last breath. Through her story, we hope to inspire people to stand up against injustice. But most importantly, we want everyone to protect themselves first.
Miriam, I just want to say prayers to you and your family. That's so unfortunate. You really a G. You really made I so honorable hero, for real. Let me get some long live M's in the chat, LLM's in the chat, man. Love y'all, appreciate y'all. I'm great for y'all. Binge the rest of videos on my channel. Crazy story, and I'll keep bringing the true crimes to y'all. If y'all like them, spam that like for me so I know, and we gone, man. I'm gonna have some prison story for us soon. I haven't done one in a minute. That being said, man, we gone. ADD lad, do it.